Hello everyone. So today we start on our new topic IPsec, then CIA Triad, and it's all about what you requires a basic for security plus and cybersecurity, the entry point to the cybersecurity. Without having a further delay, let's get started. First, we going to discuss about IPsec. So if IPsec word came to your mind, what you think of as IPsec? IPsec basically comprises of two words, IP plus security. Now, if we talk about IP, IP is something as Internet Protocol. So Internet Protocol is something that you requires while communicating on internet, right? So this is all about the internet protocol, right? Now let's discuss more about internet protocol, that what you requires while you communicating on internet, what you look forward to. So in so the thing that you require while communicating a secure communication on internet is encryption and authentication, right? So these are the basic of uh, of internet protocol that you require while communicating to have a secure communication. So this is where IPsec comes in picture. Now there are certain triad of IPsec, as we call it as CIA. So CIA, C is for confidentiality, I is for integrity, and A is for availability. Right. Now we discuss each one of each components of IPsec. Right. First, we talk about confidentiality. Confidentiality basically comes with the things that you keep secret, okay, as confidential. So in terms of communicating on internet, what are the facts that you look to achieve confidentiality? First, what you do is that your information, your sensitive information, shouldn't be accessible to any unauthorized access, right? So to avoid accessing to why to avoid any accessibility from an unauthorized user or attacker, you can say, you perform confidentiality. Now, what you do to avoid unauthorized access? So the first thing you do is you perform encryption, right? That whatever you have while communicating on a secure channel should be encrypted, right? That shouldn't be readable or shouldn't be understandable to any unauthorized user, right? So the example is SSL TLS, that what nowadays we perform on browser to server communication, right? That whatever you have on between the client that sitting on the browser and the server, right? This is client, this is server. So they maintain SSL TLS communication, which considered as secure, because I we also going to discuss that how the communication is formed using digital certificate. Okay, so uh, this is just the entry point to confidentiality. We also going to discuss the deep down about each topic. You can also give an example of any biometric where you required username and password uh, to authenticate your identity, right? That the access control should only be given to authorized user to access certain files, right? That in your phone also none of the unauthorized users are allowed to access, because it's your fingerprint sensitive, right? So biometric is also the example of comes under confidentiality. Now let's talk about integrity. Now integrity is something that your data shouldn't be changed. Whatever, if one user is sending to other user via unsecure medium, the data that is transferred shouldn't be changed, right? So that can be achieved via integrity. So protecting from unauthorized user to make changes, okay, or accidental changes you can also mention here. You should protect your data from unauthorized user to make changes, right? So integrity ensures that your data should be accurate, that whatever the data that has been transferred from one user to another should be accurate, shouldn't be changed, should be consistent, okay, and also unaltered, right? That any of the unauthorized user did not make any changes to it, okay, that can only be achieved on integrity. The integrity is achieved via hashing. So let's give you this example of integrity, that for example this is a file, so whatever the data inside it, okay, will be hash, okay, it's called hash digest. So what does that mean is that the hashing is performed, okay, on that data. So for example, if this file has anything written and the hash value comes as ABCF2471, okay, so this is just the random number that I've generated as hash digest. Now for example, if attacker comes in the middle, okay, and the attacker takes the file, he just made a little changes in it, okay, even if he change a very little change in it, the hash value will be changed to AX4725B37. So this is how hashed work as to provide integrity, that if you make a little changes to the file, anything, the hash value will be changed. So the attacker cannot make any changes because the hash that has been shared already will not going to match, and integrity shouldn't be achieved. I'll also going to give you a very good example in the coming slides, and I also prepared a document I'll attach by end of this video, so that you're also going to go through that and you can read it and you can understand. Now let's talk about availability. Now for availability means that it basically ensures that your system, your network, and your data, these are the three pillars of your organization, right? That the system where users are working, your network, and your data, okay, should be available, okay, and it should be accessible, right? So how accessibility is available to the users, what you have to do. So you should take care as your data should be available as 24 into 7 into 365 to the users. So availability is achieved as it's not achieved as if, let's say, an example where the attacker takes the access of a single system, he performs a malware where, or any backdoor access the attacker will do, and he'll just going to interact with all the malware in the organization, and your file will be corrupted, so that couldn't be accessible to any of the users, right? So the data is not available. So this is how availability comes, that you should look after. For example, there are hospital databases, e-commerce downtime leads to the direct revenue losses also, right? So if we go through any cyber attacks that take place, there are one out of these three things are affected. Either confidentiality is affected, either integrity is affected, or either availability is affected, or all three is affected. But anyone is probably be affected uh, that comes under CIA Triad, right? That what we are talking about. So this is this comes the definition of all the three pillars that comes in cybersecurity. Now the IPsec also works on, so as of now we covered that comes under cybersecurity. We cover IPsec, right? Then CIA Triad, correct? Now, let's talk about the IPsec framework. So the IPsec framework contains IEEE standard. Now let's discuss about IEEE standard. Okay, the first thing here is identification. Now, identification means that you are claiming your identity. For example, how you claim your identity in an organization by adding your username and your password, right? So this is very basic, that how identification is achieved. How anybody can just ensure that you are the same guy who needs to use this particular system, right? And also, if we talk about VPN, each site is described by its IP address or FQDN, right? Fully qualified domain name. That with the help of that, we understand that this is the legit website we want to visit, right? So this comes under identification. Now the second is authentication. So authentication means that you are proving your identity, right? That you are proving your identity, that you are the same person, because when you type your username password, it's all working fine. Okay, the authentication is also achieved nowadays by using MFA, which is called multi-factor authentication. That even if you take the password from anybody, without multi-factor authentication you cannot able to log in, correct? That comes with authentication. The authentication on the websites is also achieved using digital signatures. So it's achieved using digital certificates and pre-shared key. Now, digital certificate is something that the server authenticate its all website, that the user should believe that this is the legitimate website. So, for example, digital certificate comes in picture where when a client goes to that particular website, okay, then it must provide the digital certificate. There's a whole step. Now the next thing is authorization. So authorization is where gaining access to the data and the system. So you need to gain the access, right? By after authentication there is authorization, that you have, after authentication you have access to whatever your administrator has given you the access, okay, to the files or to the data, whatever it is. So that comes with authorization. So after authentication, for example, if we talk about IPsec, so IPsec evaluates the policies to determine what level of access to the user, means what are the level of access they are giving you. Okay, so access, if they are giving you, so you are the user, or you can say that to your device also by your IP address or your systems also, right? So this is how authorization works. You can also give an example as ACL. ACL means access control list. You know, we are performing access control list in your CCNA, where you just allow the particular service to that particular user, right? So this is called authorization. Now comes with accounting. Accounting is something that we are tracking the user, that who did what, when, and who attempted to authenticate. For example, if there any unauthorized user enter to your office and try to access your system, even if it's not authenticated, but still using accounting we can perform tracking. Now you can also perform traceability. to the system, that what till now perform means what actions that are performed on your system. So there are certain tools also. For example, if you talk about SOC, so there are Splunk, Greylog to analyze and identify the suspicious patterns, right? In IPsec also, this mechanism includes auditing also, means this under accounting auditing comes, and also logging the identity of users, or that we talk about traceability of actions, right? So accounting systems can trigger alerts for predefined conditions such as unauthorized access attempts. For example, if that particular user tried to access your system after 3 consecutive failed the password, it gives you the alert. So or else you can also give an example as modification to the critical files, that if somebody just got access and somebody made a changes to your files, so using hashing and all, we're going to got to know that the system has like the file on which somebody did the modification, right? Or abnormal logging to multiple times or from different locations. Okay, so that comes with accounting. So these are all the basic part that comes under CIA.